Hi, and welcome to Chapel Hill Maker. I'm Rachel, and I love knitting and making here in beautiful, yet pollen-coated Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I'm so happy that you could join me today. I am getting ready to go out of town, and so I wanted to record a quick video so that I could share it next week while we are away. I didn't want 3 whole weeks to go by without getting a chance to check in with you guys, and also wanted to be sure to draw my winner for my 2K giveaway. So stick around and I'll do that at the end. But I'm looking forward to giving somebody a $50 gift certificate to Knitworthy Yarn Company. I'll start out today and tell you what I'm wearing. It is the Ranunculus from Midori Hirose. I'm sure you've heard of it if you've been knitting for any amount of time. It is an exceedingly popular pattern. I did mine, I made this in 2020, which I can't believe it has been so long. So I did this out of Kestrel, 100% linen yarn from Quince & Co. And it's a worsted weight linen. And I know this came from before they were purchased by Lion Brand. So I don't know if it's changed at all since they've made that changeover, but it's a pretty crispy linen, and you know, I love the result. It's a great summer sweater. I throw it on over dresses, or like today where we're just sort of dipping our toe back into spring as we had a little bit of a cold dip this week. It's great to wear with some, you know, I'm wearing some linen pants today. So not a whole lot I can say about it that hasn't been said. There are tens of thousands, I think, of projects on Ravelry for this, and it's with good reason. It was really fun to make and a great way to sort of start doing lace knitting if you're new to it. It is kind of a choose your own adventure as far as gauge and sizing goes. I think when I made it, there weren't any sizing options or limited, and now I think they've updated it to include some more. But yeah, I ended up making my neckline a little bit tighter than she originally called for in the pattern because I don't love a really wide boat. But other than that, I knit it right to pattern, and I think, you know, I did it fairly cropped, but I think it may have been because I was running out of yarn. So that's what I'm wearing today. Also forgot to say, if you want to find me, it is Chapel Hill Maker on Instagram, Ravelry, and of course here on YouTube. And I'm thrilled that you can be here with me today. If you are new, welcome, and I'm excited to tell you what I'm doing. My first thing is to talk about travel. We are leaving town in a couple of days, and we are going to Mexico for spring break with 2 of our 4 kids. The other 2 are in school, and so they can't make it with us. But one of my daughters, it's her senior spring break, and so we're excited to sort of have this last trip for now with this crew of kids before things start to change again as we have another one head out to college. So a couple of things that I'm thinking about is, one, what am I allowed to travel with? In the United States, you are allowed to bring knitting needles, metal or wooden, scissors with up to a 3-inch blade. I usually just bring nail clippers, or I have like a pair of baby nail clippers in my Notions pouch that I've had since my kids were babies, and I usually will just bring that so I have something to clip threads and not worry about a pair of scissors. And generally I'll throw something in my carry-on that is easy to pick up and put down as much as any of my projects are. So that way, if we get stuck somewhere, I can get in a few stitches. So for me, I'm bringing 3 projects. If you watched my video last week, you know I have had a huge spate of cast-on-itis, and as soon as I finished my last couple projects, I just went bonkers and cast on a whole bunch of things. And so much so that I had to order more Chaogu red lace cables. So if that tells you anything, I have a lot of projects going right now. That said, I am excited I'm going to bring some summer projects, partly because they take up less space, they're smaller, and partly because I'm going to be somewhere, hopefully it'll be warm and sunny, which the weather report is iffy, but I'll be somewhere warm, so I probably won't want a heavy wool project in my lap. So the first thing that I am going to bring is a new project that I didn't even really talk about last week. I hadn't cast it on yet. I hadn't even gotten the yarn for it yet. I did mention that I was waiting on it, but I am again excited to say that I am a new affiliate for Purl Soho yarn, and I'm thrilled because I've been knitting with their yarn forever. And if you've watched here before, you know I often do projects either with their yarn or I have in the past. And so I'm excited to be able to share that with you. There's a link in the description to my affiliate link. You're under no obligation to use it. Use the yarn anyway, even if you don't use my link, because it just comes in so many bases, so many colors. They always have a ton of sales, so you can get some luxury fibers at a more affordable prices. But I'm using 2 of their bases in this project. And this is the Highline Henley by Tori. And this is the back. I am doing this in Purl Soho Sweetgrass. And it is let me tell you, it is 65% organic cotton and 35% superfine alpaca. And it's an undyed yarn. And I am using the colors Pale Sesame and Rye Flower, which it always makes me laugh when I pick out colors of things that I am allergic to. I can't have gluten because I have celiac disease. And so whenever I get colors with the names like wheat and rye and whatever, that's as close as I'm gonna get to it. So I might as well knit with it. And let me show you these here in the cake. It also blooms nicely. You feel the cotton. It does not hurt your hands when you knit with it. I think that's because of the alpaca. And like I said, it has a nice little bloom when you soak it. If I can find my swatch here, let's see. In typical Chapel Hill Maker fashion, I made a baby swatch, and you can see it really sort of thickens up, but it still is light and sort of has a dry, not as crunchy as this feel, but has a dry softness to it. And I started this like 3 days ago, and it's just flying off of my needle so far. My goal is to get it to under the sleeve join before we leave. So that can be sort of my mindless project while we're traveling. And so far, I don't know if you could see, I'm low on cables here. So I'm using a bunch together, but I have knit the back and picked up for the right shoulder, and then I just picked up for the left shoulder. And so once I get past like this side to this point, I will be ready to join. So the cool thing about this is it has sort of a little button placket right here with a collar. And when I saw it, I ordered this yarn from Purl Soho sort of as a celebration of my affiliation with them. And they sent me a free sample, which I think they do after, if you spend a certain amount of money with them for everybody. It wasn't anything different. And so this is a sport weight superwash wool, daily wool, and it's the color green chartreuse green. And so I saw that, and I thought, when I saw it in the box, I was like, ooh, those kind of look pretty together. I wonder if I could sub out the collar with this. And the only problem is I'm not sure how this chartreuse would look close to my face. So I pulled out a scrap that I have, it's more than a scrap, a half of a skein of linen quill. And this is, oh geez, I'm blanking on the name of the color. I looked it up right before I started recording. It's rose something, and I'll put it on the screen here because my mind is going. It's like a brick reddish, and I think that would really look nice too. So if you have an opinion, share it here. I would love it. And either way, I think the little pop of color on there will be fun, and I think they'll both look great. I'm like a little worried. This is 20 grams. I'm a little worried that I won't have enough to do the whole color, but might be worth trying. I don't think I said I'm holding this double. It's a DK weight pattern, and this is by Tori. I think I said last week I was thinking about doing the stripe pipe with this, but when the yarn came, I realized I can't math, so I did not order enough yarn. I still may need to order some more for it, but I definitely wasn't gonna have enough for the stripe pipe. And when I finished my Prospect Tea test, Tori generously gave her testers a free pattern. So I looked through her patterns, and this was on there, and sort of seemed like the universe was telling me that I needed to make this. So this is the Highline Henley by Tori, and it is in Purl Soho Sweetgrass, and it's just a really nice low contrast stripe, and I find stripes are super just motivating. You just want to do one more. I will say I don't love the way my pickup looks right here. You can see with the light behind it, you can see the short rows. And some of it is because of the way you carry the yarn as you do the short rows on each side. I may go through, depending on if it blooms when I block it, then I won't do anything, but I may go through and pick up, do some duplicate stitching just to hide those, but there really wasn't anything else I could do short of starting over. And I had done them twice actually, and I couldn't get it better than this. So, it's gonna be covered by my hair. And like I said, I can go through and duplicate those little areas, and I think that would be fine too. So the next thing I'm going to bring with me is the Hey Sailor by Andrea Mowry, and I did show you my little swatch last week, and I think I had one row cast on. And this is a fingering weight slip stitch mosaic pattern, and I'm doing this in Amy Sher's new Comfort Silk Linen in the color Forget Me Not, and it is 50% wool, 25% linen, and 25% mulberry silk. And then this is Flax from Camellia Fiber Co. in the color Poppy. And it is the same makeup except for it is alpaca instead of wool. So they play really nicely together. It's again this sort of tone on tone striped pattern. And this is what I have so far. It feels like it was it takes a long time. It's I'm doing size, I think the second size, and it has a little over 300 stitches per row. And let's see if we can get that. So you can see it's a slip stitch mosaic. I'm just on the second. It sort of does this, every other, these little blocks. Kind of hard to see, but I think it'll have a really nice effect in the end. My gauge is right on, and it is looking like it's a little bit big. And so that might have been why I put this down and picked up the Highline with such vigor. But it is supposed to be 40 inches. And when I measure it, it is 40 inches. I think it's harder because it's a 40-inch, bust circumference. And so at your waist, I don't have, I'm not 40 inches at my waist. So it's hard for me to picture it. It's bottom up, and it's really messy here the way I'm showing you, but it just feels a little bit on the bigger side. So I'm not kind of in a quandary about what to do with this. I'm going to keep going for now. And then it is like, it's sort of a fingering weight cardigan. I'm thinking that if it's really too big, I can pick up for the button band, you know, and cut off a little bit of the size. Does that make sense? I don't know. If you've had experience with that, let me know. It seems a little bit crazy to sort of go and do an entire sweater. Not certain if it's gonna fit, but I'm trusting Andrea. Her patterns are always great. I'm on gauge, which I often am not. So for once I'm on gauge, so I can't blame my lack of gauge awareness on it not fitting. And yeah, so this is also, it's at a pretty mindless point. You can read your knitting pretty well. And so this is just gonna go up and up for a while. And I love the yarn. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So I'm gonna bring this with me as well. The only downside of these two projects is they each have 2 skeins of yarn to keep with you at each time. So that is why I am also bringing my Checkerplate tee, because it is only one color at a time. And I have made, almost no progress since you saw it last. So I'm not gonna spend a ton of time speaking about it. I think I maybe got 5 or 6, not even 4 or 5 rounds in. And God, it's so pretty. This texture is, I just love it. And so I'm maybe 10 or 15 rounds away from separating for the sleeves, and then it'll actually start to look like a shirt, which I'm looking forward to. And I am knitting this in Wooldreamers Saona and in the color Ozetta. It is a 50% wool, 50% cotton yarn. It is a 2-ply, if you can see. Has a little bit of a slubby texture, and it definitely is sort of a dry, crispy yarn. And I've loved it. I used this on my Prospect tee as well. And I think I mentioned last week that it was a little bit scratchy as I was working with it, but as I've, the first time I wore it, but then as I've been going, it gets softer and softer with each wear. So, so those are my 3 plans for my travel knitting. I am going to put each project in a Ziploc bag, so that way I can throw it in a beach bag to go to sit on the beach and knit, and I won't have to worry too much about sand getting in my yarn, which I always do. I don't love to keep my yarn in plastic bags if I can avoid it. I don't know, I feel like it can't breathe in there. And so I will do that for the trip. I just worry about sunscreen leaking or whatever else. And so I think those are my big considerations. The other concern is that in Mexico, I have read, and maybe you guys can tell me, that on the way back, leaving the country, they will not let me bring knitting on the plane, or at least they won't let me bring metal needles. So they told, from what I've read, it's hit or miss depending on who you go through at security. And I have heard that if you have wooden needles, and these are the Chalgu bamboo, I think bamboo twist they're called, needles. I prefer to use the red lace cables, but these are the ones that I have. So I'm using this, and I don't think I said it, I'm on size 7 needle. One nice thing about these bamboo ones is you can actually read the number on the needle. I don't knit with bamboo a lot. When I do, it's usually with a plant-based fiber, or if I can't quite get gauge. So if I'm close on, row gauge, but not stitch gauge, or vice versa, I will give the wooden needles a try. And I have both these and the Licca needles, and I prefer these. The Licca, I don't love the cable. I love the needles. They're really soft and smooth, but yeah, I don't love the cables. They tend to kink a little bit. And so I have so many of the Chalgu because I also have the metal needles. So yeah, so I think what I'm going to do, I've heard that if you sort of take them off the project and put them somewhere else so that they look like pencils or whatever, when they go through the scanner, they are less likely to take it away from you. So that way I will have some knitting to do on the way home. I will be really sad if I have to abandon ship on the needles, and I have heard that sometimes they'll take the knitting needles away from you. But the nice thing is with ChowGoos, you can replace the tips for, relatively inexpensive. I thought about just buying sort of some cheap needles off of Amazon, but I really love the knitting experience with my ChowGoos, and so I decided not worth it. And if I have to replace it, I will, and I'll be happy if I don't. So my last thing that I'm gonna bring with me is my set of ChowGoo shorties. And I always bring these when I travel, just in case I need extra needles. I can use the shorties in place of the 5-inch that I have, and this keeps these all together. I have it in a thread and maple binder page that is designed for shorties. I've shared this here before, but it is honestly one of my very favorite knitting tools, and it holds all my cables and stuff in here. And it's this beautiful leather, smells so good. And you can fit it in the big needle binder, or you can fold it up and take it with you, which is what I'm going to do. So this will be in my suitcase, and hopefully they don't lose my luggage, because that would be really make me sad. So I think that's all I have as far as my knitting projects go. I want to just move into my active Newscycle Avoidance, and I need some good book recommendations, you guys. I have started and abandoned a couple books lately. I don't know if just sort of global stress has made me a little bit wimpier as far as some of even my cozy mysteries go. But I just haven't had the bandwidth for things that are stressful to listen to. So I have mostly been listening to Spotify. My youngest daughter is an amazing playlist maker and shared hers with me, so I've mostly been doing that. There's also a band that I love, and if I'm down in the dumps, I will listen to Lake Street Dive and Sammy Rae and the Friends are my two sort of go-to bands to listen to sort of have a pick-me-up, and definitely give them a listen. Sammy Rae is coming to Raleigh in November, and I already bought tickets and I can't wait. And so yeah, that has kind of been my, and I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been great at Newscycle Avoidance without all of my good distractions, and I need it. So help a sister out and drop some recommendations for good books that aren't too dark and stressful in the comments below. The last thing that I have is my podcast recommendation. As you know, I love giving other creators shout outs on here and trying to promote other small channels like mine, because there is so much high quality, really enjoyable content on here, and so many creative people that just inspire me on the regular. So this one is called the Fleece Folk Diary, and Azra is the host, and she is in Australia, and she is a spinner and a knitter, and she has a lovely approach to making and a great sunny outlook, and I have thoroughly enjoyed watching her videos lately, and she's given me some really good inspiration. She makes beautiful projects, and not necessarily ones that I've seen before. So definitely go check out Fleece Folk Diary. I've linked her as well in the description. So the last thing I'm going to talk about today is my giveaway. If you remember, on episode 13, I ran a giveaway for 2,000 subscribers, and I am going to give the lucky winner a $50 gift card to Knitworthy Yarns. So if this is you, then please reach out to me via my email, which is linked below, or DM me on Instagram, and we'll find a way to connect so that I can get that to you. But I'm excited not only to share a gift with one of you guys, one of my subscribers who has supported me, but also to support my friends at Knitworthy Yarns, who have a beautiful shop and I'm excited for you guys to check it out. So it is not a sponsored giveaway. I'm paying for it out of my own pocket. And I do that, like I said, because they just have a wonderful shop and they are tireless and work so hard to build a warm and inviting and friendly business. So as you can see here from my random comment generator, the winner is Lucy Roy 5160. So congratulations, Lucy. And please reach out to me. I cannot wait to send you your gift. And I got so many amazing comments on that video. As always, you guys are awesome. And I was just, it really buoyed me during what's been a long couple weeks. And so thank you again. And thank you so much for liking and subscribing and commenting and engaging and winning, Lucy, and all the wonderful ings. And I can't wait to catch up with you after we get back from our vacation. And I hope you have a great couple weeks. Bye.